Smallpox or smallpoxes is a serious life-threatening illness caused by the variola minor and major viruses. It causes pus-filled blisters to develop on the skin. In 1980, the World Health Organization declared that smallpox had been eradicated. Since the late 1970s, there hasn't been any confirmed cases of smallpox. What is smallpox? Smallpox is an extremely contagious disease, and currently there is no available cure for it. Smallpox is an acute contagious disease caused by the variola virus, a member of the orthopox virus family. Smallpox, which is believed to have originated over 3,000 years ago in India or Egypt, was one of the most devastating diseases known to humanity. Smallpox is transmitted from person to person by infecting aerosols or air droplets, which spreads within the face-to-face contact of people. The disease can also be transmitted by contaminated clothes and bedding, though the risk of infection from the source is much lower. 6 main stages of smallpox: the incubation period, the initial symptoms, early rash, pustular rash and scabs. The scabs fall off, and there are no scabs left. The first symptoms of smallpox usually appear 10 to 14 days after you're infected. During the incubation period of 7 to 17 days, you look and feel healthy and can't infect others. A sudden onset of flu-like signs and symptoms occurs. This includes fever, overall discomfort, headache, severe fatigue, severe back pain, vomiting, and the signature pox. A few days later, flat, red spots appear first on your face, hands, and forearms, and later on your trunk. Within a day or two, many of these lesions turn into small blisters filled with clear fluid, which then turns into pus. Scabs begin to form 8 to 9 days later and will eventually fall off, but will leave deep, pitted scars that can disfigure people. Lesions also develop in the mucous membranes of your nose and mouth and quickly turn into sores that will break open. There are no natural animal carriers, nor natural propagation of variola virus outside the human body. For centuries, smallpox was one of the world's most dreaded plagues, killing as many as 30% of its victims. 2 forms of the disease are recognized: variola minor, with a mortality rate of approximately 1%, and the more common variola major, with a mortality rate of 30%. Between 65 and 80% of survivors are marked with deep pitted scars, most prominent on the face. Some even become blind because of smallpox. Normally, when a virus enters the bloodstream, the immune system responds by producing a substance called interferon gamma, which assists the development of the immune response that's responsible for ridding the body of the virus. However, pox viruses, such as smallpox, all have one thing in common that destroys this defense. Pox viruses all come encoded with a potent weapon to evade the immune system, an interferon gamma binding protein. As the name implies, the protein literally binds to the interferon gamma and immobilizes it, preventing it from marshalling the immune system's defenses. The pox virus is then able to replicate and cause immense damage. In the ancient times in southwestern Asia, it had been known for centuries that a healthy person could be made immune to the smallpox by being injected with pus taken from the sores of an infected person. Another technique practiced in China was to grind the scabs of a smallpox victim and blow the powder through a tube into the nose of a healthy person. However, this procedure was expensive and difficult, and had lackluster results. Besides helping the economic classes and bourgeoisie, it did nothing to help regular civilians. A much safer procedure was developed by Edward Jenner, a physician in Gloucestershire, England. In 1796, Jenner deliberately infected a small boy with the virus variolae vaccinae, or cowpox, a bovine version of smallpox. The boy then became immune to the cowpox and only suffered a mild non-contagious reaction. The next time he was injected, he suffered no reaction at all. The superiority of vaccination is proven as this technique became famous and was immediately recognized as being a cheap alternative to inoculation. As the 19th century progressed, vaccination programs became very compulsory and was instituted in many countries. A vaccine is a weakened or attenuated form of the pathogen that contains antigens but is incapable of triggering the lethal disease. The antigenic determinants in a vaccine may be conjugated to an adjuvant, which functions to boost the immune response. The body responds to an injected vaccine by initiating a primary immune response, which results in the memory cells being made. When exposed to the actual pathogen, the memory cells trigger a more potent secondary immune response. As a consequence of this more potent immune response, disease symptoms do not develop. Smallpox was the first infectious disease of humans to have been eradicated via vaccination. And when a disease stops circulating in a region, it's considered to be eliminated, which is what happened to smallpox. This is because of herd immunity. Smallpox was targeted for eradication in 1967 by the World Health Organization via a global vaccination program. The last known case of smallpox in a civilian was registered in 1977, and smallpox was officially declared eradicated by WHO in 1980. The eradication of smallpox by vaccination was successful for a number of reasons. Smallpox was easily identifiable due to the overt clinical symptoms, which helped to limit potential transmission. And transmission only occurred via direct contact, and there was no animal vectors, factors, or reservoirs to sustain the infectious agent. The infection period was short-lived, as it was only about 3 to 4 weeks, and the virus was stable and didn't mutate into alternative strains. There was a global cooperation, and immunity was long-term, so that repeated booster shocks were unnecessary, and therefore the first herd immunity to smallpox was created.